guys, welcome back to F1 Podcast. Well, as promised, we're going to talk about the penalties. And Trulli, a couple of hours, I think, after the race was run and won by Button, lost his podium, mate. It was all gone. He got a 25-second penalty, dropped back the order, and promoted Lewis onto the podium. And I just want to say, first of all, that I really wish they get these things sorted out before the podium celebrations, so that Trulli he enjoyed the podium, and perhaps Lewis should have, or you could argue maybe he shouldn't have. But I just really wish they get this sorted out before the podium, mate.
Yeah, I agree with you, Pep. It's it's the sort of thing that's blighting our sport.
Get your shit together.
Yeah, and I mean he was up there, and quite rightly celebrating. I mean he was at the end of the race in P3, and he should have been celebrating, but then to have that taken away from you at the 11th hour is a bit harsh.
Yeah, it is, and so Toyota, I think, will come back, but it's just a disappointing set of circumstances where they just can't get this stuff sorted out before the podium, before the official results and things like that.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
And Vettel was given, Red Bull were given a fine, first of all, for letting him run around on three wheels, and now he's got...
Which is fair enough.
Yeah, it is actually. I mean, he started, rather than pulling into the pits, he didn't just go around to the pits and pull in. He started new laps and things like that, so that was pretty fair. And he was also given a 10-slot penalty for Malaysia. So the stewards decided that it wasn't a racing incident. It wasn't just one of those things that he actually could have avoided that accident, I guess, Max. Otherwise, you wouldn't give the guy a 10-slot penalty.
Look, I think he could have avoided it. I mean, there were 3 laps to go, mate. And as Robert said, maybe if it was the last lap, fair enough. I could understand him being, fairly audacious in that move. And I'm inclined to agree with Robert. But by the same token, even if he'd have done that in the last lap, he would have effectively taken them both out, period. Robert was quicker. I mean, that's a simple fact.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no arguing that. And Robert had the better line and said, with respect, was on the inside, and there was nowhere really to go. And Robert took his natural line and Seb was there on the inside. But that's racing. I won't say it's a racing incident per se, but that's racing.
Yeah.
And that's the pitiful dog-eared cards that fate dealt poor old Robert Kubica.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and that's the way it goes. But something like that will happen to Seb as well in his future, long and illustrious Formula One career, I'm sure. And you've just got to turn around and go, these things happen. I'm pissed off. I'm disappointed. Insert any adjective here.
Yeah.
But these things happen, and that's the way it goes. But I do understand why Seb has been penalised. I don't know whether 10 grid spots is fair enough, but maybe 5. But I don't know.
Yeah, and we were actually saying earlier today that Barrichello was pretty lucky not to get away with a penalty as well, and that's one thing that I find a little bit annoying, is the inconsistency of these decisions.
Admittedly, with Webber, he was hit from behind by Hakey, and his car skew-whiffed into Webber. So, okay, fair enough. That wasn't his mistake.
Yeah, but he did have the other incident with Kimi.
But he did,
yeah.
Exactly. This is the thing, and that one can be argued. But yeah, I mean...
Yeah, we talked about this in a previous episode, and don't ask me which one it was, but about the inconsistency of the stewards' decision and the fact that they need consistency. But anyway, it seems like sometimes in Formula One, you get the podium and you get the celebration, and then you've got to wait a few hours for the penalties and what's going to come as a result.
Yeah, don't start me on that shit. All right, don't even bother. Yeah.
Alright, Max, we're going to finish off this episode and talk a little bit about KERS, because there's been lots of conversations about whether the 35, 40 kilos, whatever it is, to run KERS versus the advantage that you get from the power is worth it.
Yeah.
And, people like Alonso weren't overly impressed with KERS, but then you've got drivers like Timo Glock, who was chasing Alonso, saying I couldn't overtake the guy because I didn't have KERS, because he kept on, KERSing down the straight or whatever. And I think that a lot of the websites is right, is that on circuits with long straights and with plenty of speed, that you might get some advantage from KERS. But on those slower circuits like Hungary and Monaco, there really isn't much advantage. But it really is a balance, isn't it, mate, between weight versus speed and whether KERS is going to do it for you.
Yeah, I totally agree. Personally, I'd piss it off. If I was a team that didn't have it at the moment, I wouldn't be bothering instituting it into my team. If I'm right, and this could completely blow up in my face, but if I'm right, when the Diffuser 3 hearing occurs over the next month, and the diffuser becomes ratified, because let's face it, it's been primarily approved by the FIA anyway, and everyone else has to adopt that diffuser, only then do I think that KERS may, I'm stretching it, may come into its own. But at the moment, if I'm able to move my ballast around my car without KERS, without the 30 to 40 kilos of weight, if I'm able to move my ballast around the car, and we saw that, and who won in Australia? Two non-KERS teams came 1 and 2. To me, I'd be pissing the thing off.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a weight disadvantage.
And they can't actually extract much power from it anyway. I think Williams was saying before the race that they could get probably 10 times the amount of power out of it that they're allowed to get. So the thing does work. It does deliver more power, but they're not allowed to unleash all the power.
You're right. But under the FIA regulations, they're limited to 400, Newton meters or whatever the bloody hell it is. I don't quite know. But the point I'm trying to get at is that these teams that aren't running KERS aren't hamstrung by the extra 30 to 40 kilos of weight.
They've got that more to play with on the ballast. Yeah.
And although KERS may, depending on who you listen to, gain you, 0.3 of a second per lap.
What does the 40 kilos cost you?
Precisely.
Yeah.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
And let's also not forget that at certain circuits, KERS, although great for accelerating out of a corner, 1 second's worth of KERS out of a corner, to me, doesn't necessarily equate to a great gain over a car that's 30 to 40 kilos lighter than you. To me, it simply doesn't, and I'm no engineer, but it simply, to me, doesn't make sense. I'd be personally pissing it off at the moment. But should the other teams, and should the diffuser be ratified, not ratified, should that be ratified, who knows? They'll pick up speed anyway, and maybe KERS will have something else up its sleeve. I don't know, but I'm just simply not convinced. After one race, I'm simply not convinced that this is the way to go. And let's also not forget that there were only 7 cars running KERS in Australia. The other 13 weren't, and some of them, I'm sure, for a reason.
Alright guys, well the great thing about YouTube is you can leave your comments underneath this video, so please do let us know what you think about KERS, let us know what you think about these penalties, and mate, we've got the Malaysian Grand Prix just around the corner. I can't wait, so we'll see you soon for the next one.
Alright guys, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.